Mr. Beat presents
Supreme Court Briefs.
St. Louis, Missouri, May 10th, 1983. Robert Reynolds, the principal at Hazelwood East High School, looks over the page proofs that were to be published for The Spectrum, the school-sponsored newspaper. The Spectrum was a student newspaper published every 3 weeks as part of a Journalism 2 class. The class distributed around 4,500 copies not only to other students, but also sold copies to community members. Hazelwood School District paid for most of the costs of producing the newspaper, however. Normally, Principal Reynolds would be excited to read each new issue. However, this time he found 2 of the articles in the upcoming issue inappropriate. One story was about teen pregnancy and included interviews with students at Hazelwood East who had been pregnant. That said, the story used fake names for the girls. Reynolds thought that folks would still figure out who they were, though. Reynolds also thought the article's references to sex and birth control were not appropriate for younger kids at the school to read about. The second article dealt with divorce and also brought up personal things that might reveal embarrassing personal family matters involving the students interviewed for it. Now, instead of giving the students who reported on and edited the story a chance to respond, Reynolds went ahead and cut out the stories from the issue, and in doing so had to omit 7 articles from it. So instead of being a 6-page issue, it was a 4-page issue. The students only found out that the articles had been left out when the issue had been released on May 13th. The 3 students involved with the 2 articles were reporters Leslie Smart and Leanne Tippett, and the editor, Kathy Kuhlmeier. As you could imagine, they were very upset the articles didn't get published, especially since the Spectrum's advisor, Robert Sturgos, had previously approved them. Kuhlmeier, Smart, and Tippett all confronted Principal Reynolds about what he did. Reynolds told the girls that the stories were, quote, inappropriate, personal, sensitive, and unsuitable. Well, they were certainly not cool with that explanation and made copies of the deleted articles and distributed them to other students on school premises anyway. They were not punished for that, by the way. Later, arguing that the school had violated their First Amendment rights to freedom of speech and freedom of the press, Kuhlmeier, Smart, and Tippett sued the school district and got their case to the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Missouri. The district court agreed with Hazelwood, saying that because Hazelwood mostly paid for the newspaper, they could control what was in it. Kuhlmeier and the rest appealed to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 8th Circuit, which reversed the lower court's decision, saying that nope, the newspaper was a, quote, public forum that went beyond the walls of the school. And wouldn't you know it, this time, Hazelwood appealed to the Supreme Court. It heard oral arguments on October 13th, 1987. Yep, by this time, the girls had long graduated from Hazelwood East High School. Still fighting, though. I like it. The big question, of course, was, did Principal Reynolds violate the students' First Amendment rights? The court said nope. In a 5-3 decision, the court announced on January 13th, 1988, that they had sided with Hazelwood, saying that yes, school administrators could censor school-sponsored expression like student newspapers, assembly speeches, and the like if the censorship is, quote, reasonably related to legitimate pedagogical concerns. In other words, if it could potentially disrupt learning at school, the principal can prevent the expression. This idea, by the way, is called prior restraint. Oh, you lawyers and your fancy words. So yeah, since school administrators represent the state, they can jump in quite a bit to limit students from saying controversial stuff. That said, off-campus speech by students was still protected, so Kuhlmeier, Smart, and Tippett making photocopies and distributing the articles on their own was still okay. If you want to remember one thing about Hazelwood School District v. Kuhlmeier, it's that yes, schools can censor students if it's school-sponsored stuff. Later, in the case Hosty v. Carter, the Supreme Court even applied it to the university level. Still, today the case remains controversial, and several states have passed laws that protect the First Amendment rights of students. I'll see you for the next Supreme Court case, jury. Now, I should also add that since students communicate so much today on social media, the public forum ain't going away anytime soon. So students, keep posting about what's going down on Snapchat, okay? So what do you think? Do you agree with the court in this case? Let me know down below for sure. Also, here's my monthly shout out to all my Patreon supporters who donate at least $10 or more each month to my channel. Starting with my biggest donors: Bradley Poole, Matt Standish, Alicia Solberg, Andrew B., Austin Rudolph, L. Casper, Nick Everett, Sean Connett, Jacob Velasquez, Dr. Paul J. Lilly, Andrew Snyder, CJ Cavey, James, John Johnson, Kit Walker, Lee Fortier, Zachary F. Parker, Victor Martinez, Justin Holt, Quentin Choi, Pat Randolph, Laughlin McGregor, and Cal Stevens. Thank you all so much for your generous support, and thank you for watching.